welcome.
Thank you.
Uh, the start of a new series for me, and I always wanted to talk to you about living in Iceland, photographing. I think about everything. I want to talk to you about your book, but first of all, introduce.
Yeah. My name is Jeroen. It's a difficult name for Icelanders, apparently.
Okay.
I'm originally from Belgium, and I've been living in Iceland for the past 5.5 to 6 years now,
All right.
I think. And yeah, I came here for the first time in 2012,
Okay.
and since then I've been coming back again and again and again. And then I just decided to move. Met someone here before I moved, and now I'm living here. Have a family, a daughter,
Brilliant. Excellent.
and I'm a full-time photographer now.
Oh, fantastic. Living the dream.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind
I
of.
don't know, living my dream at least.
Living your dream. Okay, I see. Okay. What is it that brought you to why Iceland of every country in the world?
It has all like I've always had
The weather?
not the weather, uh, but I've always had the real fascination with the north.
Yeah.
As a kid, we often went to Norway, Sweden, and these are trips that have always stuck with me.
Okay.
And Iceland, I kind of discovered through Sigurós,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
this kind of triggered me in some way, like
Nice.
especially Heima,
Mm.
their DVD that they brought out. When I saw it, it got me interested in the nature, not per se the music, but a lot of the nature stuck with me. And then I kind of just waited until I was able to afford it
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
come here.
Yeah.
And lucky for me, everything went to hell here, and the currency dropped. And at some point, it became so cheap that I just had to do it. And
Yeah. Took the chance.
I came here with my scouts group. I was a leader in our local scouts group,
Okay.
and with the eldest group, we always went as like their final summer camp.
Yeah.
We went abroad, and Iceland was one of the options that year. And I kind of managed to convince them to do this because yeah, they realized that now was the opportunity. They were a very small group. We were a
Yeah.
total of 6 people.
Okay.
So all the money we managed to collect throughout the year to fund this went into this trip, and we could do it. So we just did it. And this trip kind of, I don't know, it just broke something in me. It's really strange to explain to people who have never had this experience, but for me, the first thing we did when we came to Iceland was we came to Reykjavik, and
Yep.
the morning after we went to Landmannalaugar, and then the first thing we did and saw was Laugavegur.
Ah, nice.
And somewhere in those mountains, something changed in me.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange, but it took me a long time to place it. And then when I finally did, I just kept coming back and again and again and again, and then yeah.
Excellent. Were you always visiting the highlands or?
Um, the first 3 or 4 trips, I
Yeah.
went to Landmannalaugar. Every time I did Laugavegur 3 times, and then I just started exploring more and more of the country. But the highlands, that has always been something that fascinated me because coming from Belgium, where every little square meter in the country is built or yeah, developed in some way.
Yeah.
It's a very strange thing to me to have this big place where there's nothing.
Ah, I see. Yeah. So it's like coming from Belgium into the highlands, you have a lot of open spaces and.
Yeah, like in Belgium, you don't have open space anymore. It's just essentially a big city, and there's traffic everywhere. There's people everywhere. If you want to be alone, it's impossible or almost impossible.
Okay. Well, that's a sacrifice you gotta make to live in Belgium where there's great beer and chocolate.
Yeah, but beer and chocolate can be imported, so that's not a problem. Not for
Okay.
me, at least.
Oh, excellent. Okay, that's great to hear that you're enjoying living here and everything is. How's everything worked out? Like during the pandemic and everything. How's it been working here as a photographer?
So I only recently started working as a photographer, thanks to the eruption and the coverage I've done on that.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I've always had a background as a person working in IT,
Yeah.
and that's what I did the first years that I came to Iceland. I worked as a IT specialist in a travel agency, and after that, I worked in IT support for a software company here in Iceland. And yeah, then with the eruption, things kind of changed for me
Yeah. Yeah.
in a very, very short time frame, and I just took the opportunity and went for it.
That's great to hear. Follow your dreams.
Yeah.
If you, well, yeah. Talking about the eruption, I have here New Earth photographic journey of the Geldingadalir eruption. New book by you.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it. How did it? How did it come along? Why did it? Did you? Did you want to create a book like right away when the eruption started, or?
No, not at all. This was not something that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
The thing is that I've always wanted to see an eruption, and even when I was a little kid, really wanted to see an eruption. You always see these documentaries on National Geographic and BBC Earth, and you're like, "Wow, what is this? Like, I need to see this." And the like, what made this so special to me is that this was it was so small that you could just walk to it, and you could just stand next to it,
Yeah.
and some people even grilled sausages on it, and
Yeah. Apparently it did.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this was something very unique, and because of that, I just kept going back again and again and again. And I think it was about 2 months after it started, I started to realize that I sat on this mountain of images,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of new stories and experiences that I wanted to share in some way. And then I started writing a little bit, and I think it was another month later that I started to realize, yeah, I think I have something here. Like,
Mm.
it's something that people maybe want to read or want to hear about. And then I developed it further and further until came the point that I had something that was sort of finished,
Well.
and I didn't have any money. So I went to Carolina Fund,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and I had it. Yeah, I basically showed people this is the finished product that I have, and
Hmm.
I'm looking for money to print it. And the response to this was unbelievable. So I originally asked for 9,000 euros,
Yeah.
um, and I reached that amount within, I think, the first 6 days.
Oh wow.
And when it ended after 31 days, I managed to gather over 14,000 euros,
Ooh,
which
nice.
was like, I was, yeah, it was kind of, uh, it was very nice that I could create this project,
Yeah.
but it was also a little bit overwhelming because I had never realized how many people were invested in what I was doing.
Ah, yeah, yeah. You got a little peek inside actually how many people are really excited about your photography
Yeah,
and everything that you're doing.
because I mean, it's one thing to have X many followers on Instagram,
Hmm.
and that's just an app, and people just like a photo, and it doesn't really,
Yeah.
like to me, it doesn't really mean that much.
Hmm.
But to then see how many people really wanted me to
Yeah.
be able to tell this story, that was just, yeah, for me, this was unbelievable. And I'm really happy that I'm now sitting here and we can have a look at this
New Earth.
physical product
Yeah.
that came out of it.
How many days did you say, or months did you say that it took you to document that?
I went there from the first day
Oh,
until the very last day. I was there when it stopped, and I think it was about 6 months.
yeah. Whoa.
I went in total 44 times.
Wow.
Uh,
That's a lot of hiking.
yeah, it's a lot of hiking. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic that both the book, of course, and the sponsors, the Carolina Fund behind it, that you actually get to see how many people enjoy your work because it's a phenomenal work, and I've taken a couple of peeks at it, and I'm really fascinated about it because it's one thing to photograph how I look at it, it's one thing to photograph a volcano, but you bring out something extra in it. I would say it's something.
I think like what to me made this very special is when you look at um, photos of previous eruptions. You look at Holurun, for example,
Mm,
and you always see the same photographs out of the same angles.
yeah.
And then you go back to Eyjafjallajökull and you see the same photos
Hmm.
again and again and again because these are really dangerous eruptions to be around. So you can't really be there and stand with your tripod and take the time to take it all in. And this was very different, and I very quickly realized how different this was.
Mm,
And that's why I tried to be there whenever I could be there, just to do something different.
yeah.
And again, also because I've always wanted to see this, I've researched the living hell out of
I bet.
volcano photography. I've spent a lot of nights just browsing at other people's work who have done this in the past, and then I kind of made this sort of bucket list of shots
Mm,
that I wanted to make in my head.
yeah.
And when I was there, I just kind of, yeah, okay, now we start on a list, and
Oh,
I start
nice.
doing the list. And it's just, to me, this is something that uh, created a lot of inspiration,
Mm,
especially because one of the things that I started to realize around May when I got this idea for the book was that to me, this wasn't just an eruption, this was being there every day and seeing the creation of a new landscape. That's why
mm.
I called it the new Earth.
Ah.
Nice to slide the title in there.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. Like when it started, I came up on Fagradalsfjall and I had
Hmm.
to hike down into this valley.
Yeah.
And then around May, you were kind of, when you were coming up to the eruption, you were at eye level with the crater. And a week later, you had to go a little bit more up and then up and up and up and up. And at the end of the eruption, you see this mountain that is there now, which
Yeah.
wasn't there. Like if you look from Reykjavik to Reykjanes, you see that the skyline of
Yeah.
Reykjanes has changed.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that's what made this so special. Like I don't think there are many people who see the creation of a mountain.
No, I don't, and especially not many that actually get to document it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like to me, also the fact that when this eruption started, the country was basically on lockdown, and nobody could enter the country without a valid reason or
Ah,
being in quarantine. So to me, it felt a little bit like this is happening here. I need to do this because there are many people who really, really want to, and they cannot do this.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I just try to, yeah,
You got an opportunity that many people don't get.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It would have been a shame to just sit at home and watch Netflix when
Yeah.
this is
Well,
happening.
this is happening.
Yeah.
Definitely, I agree with that. So tell me, on your while you were documenting it, tell me about what did you use? What did you use to take the photographs? Did you get up close to it with a wide lens, or did you use a mini of tele?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I used mostly my wide angle lens. So
Yeah.
I'm using a Canon 1635
Okay.
f2.8. And I realized from the very beginning that this is going to change and expand. And at some point, there won't be the chance to go up to it with the wide angle lens. So
Yeah.
I tried to do as much as I could with these lenses. So I'm only using two lenses at the moment. I have this wide angle and then I have a 100 to 500
Oh,
Canon lens.
nice. Yeah. The RF
Yeah,
one. Yeah. Oh, nice.
which is really like this is the lens that I use 90% of the time. And I try to use this as much as possible to capture these details that later on in the eruption you wouldn't be able to get.
Mm.
And I think that's what drew a lot of people in initially is that I was doing something totally different than most people. I think most people in the beginning they were flying the drones and flying over with a helicopter,
Yeah.
and you see again and again these same photographs that you could probably take 3 months from now as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And to me, it was just very important to think like, how are we gonna do this, and how am I gonna do what I can before I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thought process behind it.
Yeah. And that's actually quite smart that you actually figured that out right away. Because if you miss that chance, there's a you're very likely that you won't get that chance again.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like there's one of the photos we talked about in the beginning is people standing on the ridge,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you see the silhouettes in front of the
Yeah.
crater. This was only possible one evening,
Wow.
and if you didn't get it that evening, then you couldn't have the shot anymore because everything changed the day after. So
Nice.
I'm very happy that I was like sort of I kind of got over the excitement in the beginning,
Yeah.
because in the beginning I arrived there and I was kind of like,
Yeah,
yeah, like a
really surreal. Like,
yeah, like
is this happening?
I was a little bit like a headless chicken. Like I was just running all over the place, and I didn't really know what and how, and is this okay? Like, can we be here? And
Oh yeah.
it's a little bit, yeah, it was very surreal to experience this.
Yeah, it was. Did you ever like had dangerous experience? Was it ever like a moment that you almost went too close, or the wind blew gases to your face, or
I
camera overheated, or fell into the lava?
I didn't lose any equipment. I'm
Good.
very happy about that. One of my drones got heavily damaged underneath,
Oh yeah.
and this was just by flying too close one time.
Yeah.
But it still worked, except for the
Okay.
sensors. So the only thing I could do was grab it out of the air, because if I tried to land on the ground, it would just smack into the ground because it didn't know there was ground.
Ouch.
Um, but uh, like dangerous experiences, like I've always tried to be very careful,
Yeah.
and of course, this is all very new, so it's a learning process. Also, like
Yeah.
you learn where you shouldn't be standing,
Mm-hmm.
and things that you in the beginning would think, oh, this is maybe okay. I learned later on is probably a bad idea, like
Yeah. You feel.
stand, standing on a hill when the lava is like at the top flowing, and
Yeah.
then it takes a turn and goes down on the hill. I remember this one day where there were maybe 20, 30 people, and they were standing next to a really fast flowing lava flow that came down next to them on the hill.
Whoa.
And at no point did anyone realize, oh, what if the lava moves at the top
Uh
when I'm
huh.
standing down there? And these are things like in the beginning, I was also not thinking about that, but then you see and you learn. And I think that's the advantage of going again and again. You see how things have changed and you see what could happen. Um, but I think most of the time I always had a gas mask with me in the
Ooh.
beginning.
Okay. That's great.
Uh, just, I call it a fleeing mask, in the sense that it's just something that you would put on to get out of there
Ah,
if you
yeah,
need
yeah.
to,
If it comes to that.
because obviously it doesn't create any oxygen.
Nope.
But yeah, I've only had to use that, I think, 2 times or 3 times
Okay.
out of
Well, out of 40
yeah,
something times, I would
yeah.
say
I
that.
mean, this was also just out of precaution. Like I think I could have walked out of there without any problem, and I don't feel like I was in any dangerous situation. But
Just to be safe.
yeah, I like to be safe
Yeah.
with these things, because if you make one mistake, it's
Yeah.
probably the last mistake you will make.
Exactly. You only need one mistake when it comes to hot lava, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So during uh, the documentation, do you have like a photograph? Like you mentioned earlier that you had a bucket list. Did you capture all of the images, and do you have like this one image that stands above the rest, or?
I pretty much, from what was possible with this eruption, I pretty much took every shot that I wanted to take before it started, because when it started developing, I realized there was a lot more that I wanted to do, but
Yeah.
I took pretty much every shot that I wanted. The only one that I didn't take is like a shot of an ash cloud with a lightning in it. That's something I really want to do, but that
Yeah.
obviously wasn't possible with
No.
this kind of eruption.
Yeah.
But other than that, pretty much every shot. I'm
Oh.
really proud of the. I think it's one of the very few that managed to photograph this. Is a photo of the northern lights above the eruption, an actual real one,
Ah, yeah.
not a photoshopped one, because
Yeah.
there are many of those out there. But I
Not a
think
sky replacement one.
no, I think there are many. There are a lot of those, but I think there are uh, maybe 6 or 7 other people who managed to take a
Yeah.
shot.
I mean
And
that is something extra. I mean, to get a volcano eruption and and northern lights.
it's extremely difficult also, because for me the goal is always to take a photo that's one exposure. I don't
Yeah.
like to do HDR because that means that I have to sit behind my computer and
Yeah.
create the HDR.
Yeah.
I like to do it in camera as much as possible.
Okay.
And it's very difficult because this obviously the lava is a light source and you need very strong northern lights for
Mm-hmm.
this to happen. And then it needs to be in the right place also. Like there's so many things that need to align for this to happen.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. That you actually managed to capture it in one shot because I actually thought that you did like bracket or
Oh,
you.
I I didn't want to do that, and I don't think I had the time to do it either.
Oh.
So what happened was that I went up there with a friend, and it was a really shitty evening, but there was a chance that it could happen,
Okay.
and it was like very Icelandic fashion weather where you
Ah.
had rain and hail, and then it snowed, and then it was clear skies, and then it became cloudy, and then it
Yep.
became super windy, everything at the same time. And we were sitting there, I think, until 10 or 10:30, and we both got really cold because of the wind
Um,
that was just blasting. And we were the last ones to sit on the hill.
okay.
Everybody else had already given up. And while we were walking back, I remember we met this American guy. He was there for the second time, and we were talking to him and explaining like what were we doing there and what
Mm-hmm.
we were trying to capture. And he was like, "Oh wow, the Northern Lights! I've never seen the Northern Lights." And as he said that, I was like, "Okay, like you're not gonna be the guy who comes here one time and then is gonna see this happen in front of you." And then he ended up being that guy,
Oh my god.
which was unbelievable. I don't think he really realized how lucky he was
Oh, that's
to.
extremely
Yeah.
rare.
And so what happened was we started walking back and everything cleared up.
Oh.
Um, and you could see like this like grayish color above you,
Oh.
and if you photograph the northern lights, oh, this is something, and that's why I stuck around with my friend. And this was in the time that everybody had to get off the mountain by midnight.
Ah.
So we didn't want to get off the mountain, obviously.
No.
So we went. We were still sitting close to the path, but we went a little bit away. It was
Yeah.
so dark, nobody could really see us.
Hiding in the dark.
Yeah, and then we sat there, and then it started to happen above us, and the northern lights started, and I had like the shot lined up that I wanted,
Nice.
and bloody northern lights didn't want to move towards the volcano. So we were just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then after I think half an hour, it
Mm.
finally went far enough to come into the frame,
Okay.
and then I managed to take the shot, and just I think it was maybe 1 or 2 minutes that it was visible on that position, and
Yeah.
then it went away again.
Oh wow.
And just as we took the shot, the Björgunarsveit, they came up the mountain because they had figured out with a drone that there were still people up there,
Ah.
and I mean it was all good. They could
Yeah. Yeah.
totally understand what we were doing there,
Yeah.
and they were not. Yeah, I would have felt bad if they would have felt bad about us sitting there ignoring the rules, but
Yeah.
it was
Everything went well and everything was
yeah,
okay. So,
but
and
it
you.
was it was amazing, and then you have this shot and you have the shot on the camera and
Mm.
I'm just like, oh my god, what did I photograph now? And then when we were walking down the mountain, the northern lights picked up again,
Mm.
and they were even stronger than when we took the
Ooh.
photo. And I was not 1 second, I was thinking about, oh, what could have been, like the
Yeah.
shot I could have taken. And I just felt like I have the shot and I'm happy and I'm fulfilled and
Oh,
I can go home now.
brilliant. It must be a great feeling to actually know that you have that in your SD card.
Yeah, well, there's also a little bit then the stress of I hope it's sharp and I hope
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, for me, it's more about this experience and this story of creating this photo rather than having this photo to show off. Like this
Yeah.
photo, for me, it's not technically the best photo. It's more about the story that goes behind it and this memory that I have of this evening, and that's a lot of people seem to forget about that these days.
Yeah.
That's what it's about,
Exactly.
and that's why I really want to just throw my opinion in here. But I just really dislike composites because of that.
Oh.
Because there is no story behind it. It's just something that you thought of in your imagination.
Hmm.
You just made it on a computer, and there's no story.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. I don't have any strong feelings towards them. I don't mind
Oh,
them.
me neither. Like I don't care that people do this. It's to me, it's a form of digital art,
Yeah, exactly.
and people should be able to express their art and
Yeah.
their ways, however they feel like.
Just as long as they're not telling it's real or
Yeah,
as photoshopping something and
yeah.
saying that this happened or something.
Or, for example, not saying it's real, but also not saying it's fake, and
Yeah,
just
like this
leaving.
vague
Yeah,
description.
I've seen people do that. I think it's a little bit strange. Like, if you feel this is the way you want to express yourself, you should just come out and say it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that to me looks like you're doing this for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. In some cases, it's definitely the case. I think there's now, especially with NFTs, I think there
Yeah.
is a really big uh, financial drive behind these
Mm.
images, and
Yeah.
it's not necessarily anymore about creative expression.
Yeah.
It's more about, yeah, like it's more about making a quick buck. And I have to say that I've also considered doing this, and then
Oh,
the longer I'm not creating composites. I've been thinking about maybe I should have some of my photos as NFTs,
okay.
and I just can't do it. Like, I can't justify it to myself
Ah, yeah.
because I feel like, yeah, I don't know. There's something that makes me feel really, yeah, not good about this. Like, because it's not. Of course, I want to make money,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this is a really strange way to make money.
Okay. Is it like a ethical question for you, or is it
In some way,
like for you personally, not for I mean everybody has their opinion. Of course, they can do NFT and
yeah, yeah.
everything. It's just for you personally.
For me, it's a little bit ethical question, not only about like how is this, like how does this society around NFTs, how does this function, like how people are behaving towards each other. I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit fake, but it's also a question about uh, like blockchains
Mm-hmm.
use a tremendous amount of energy.
Yeah.
Energy we are already short,
Mm.
and like is already in short supply.
Yeah.
Do we really need to add this on top of what we're already doing as people?
Yeah. That's where the environmental like
Yeah,
comes in. Like, how is
like
it?
I've had this discussion with people, like, yeah, sure, but you sell a book and you ship it around the world and you
Mm-hmm.
print a book, and sure, that's right, but people have been making books for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and people will not stop making books because we now have NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
NFTs is something that adds on top of that,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like we need that,
Yeah.
especially now. That's, yeah. I've when it comes to that, I've thought about this very long,
Mm-hmm.
and of course there are like supposed green alternatives who use less energy, and
Yeah.
or maybe they plant trees with part of the money that you gain out of it, but that's not the solution. I think to me it's like what you should be doing is to prevent that. You need to plant more trees in the first place.
Yeah. Get to the root of the cause.
Yeah, it's, yeah. I think it's a little bit, yeah. It doesn't really fit with me being someone who admires nature and is a landscape photographer and tries
Mhm.
to capture the beauty of nature.
Yeah. It wouldn't like we mentioned before. It wouldn't be uh, ethical for you because that's the way you feel about it, and it wouldn't be the right way how you want to express your photography or art,
Yeah,
if you
exactly. Yeah.
want.
But
Yeah, I
again,
mean,
I'm not saying that someone else can't make this
no,
decision.
of course not.
Uh,
It's just a matter of your opinion,
yeah,
how you feel about it, how you want to express
yeah,
yourself. Of course, I
exactly.
mean that's very different in many cases. Thankfully, we have many different opinions.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all for that. It's just like I feel that the I've gone into discussion with
Yeah.
some people who really strongly believe in this, and I feel that sometimes this discussion gets very, yeah, it's
Off track
yeah,
or
off track, or it's also sometimes a little bit like hostile, like you're
okay.
attacking this new thing, you're not understanding it.
So people go defensive
Yeah,
or okay.
and I don't mean to like offend anyone with my opinion. The only thing that I want to know is why do you think it's worth it?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you think it's worth it, I want to know if you really strongly believe in what you're saying,
Hmm.
or if it's because you're making a ton of money on it.
Yeah. 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 Uh,
I think that's for me what it boils down to.
exactly. Because if you're only in this to make money, of course, everybody wants to make money. It's more of like you mentioned before. It's like a
Yeah,
fake expression or fake. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. I haven't actually looked that much into NFTs and know what they are, sort of. But the first thing that came to my mind was the same. How much power does it need to do these blockchains? But then again, I'm not the ones who should be talking about it because I don't understand it. But I haven't actually thought about it because the environmental thing, because nature is really close to my heart, and I don't want to make any decision before I research this topic better.
yeah. To me, it's like I already have a big footprint, and I don't want to increase that footprint in
Ah,
any way.
yeah,
I want to do what I can to make it as small as possible.
yeah, I understand that.
That's yeah,
That's
that's my
really
reasoning
admirable.
behind it.
So, to talking about footprints, talking about travel, uh, is there any specific thing that you prefer traveling inside Iceland? Let's say you have 4 days. Where would you go? What would you recommend? You can go anywhere.
I think depends on the season, of course.
Okay.
Uh,
Mm, let's say summer, Icelandic summer.
yeah, I think in summer, if you have 4 days, you should go to Thorsmörk
Ah,
and spend your 4 days there. Period.
yeah. Okay.
You can easily spend 4 days there.
Easily, yeah.
It's a really beautiful area,
Mhm.
and it's good that not too many people go there. But then again, I want more people to see what it's like.
Yeah.
It is quite popular in a way, but because people come from Landmannalaugar, they hike through the mountains,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
come in Thorsmörk. But most people arrive there and then they step on the bus and they go away. They don't see what is
Ah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Thorsmörk.
Look at this as the final destination of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
trip,
exactly.
not a part of the
Yeah,
experiment.
and to me, it's also because I used to work for the company that runs the huts in Húsadalur,
Ah, nice.
and this place will always have a special place in my heart. It's a very, yeah, it's a very unique
Yeah,
spot to be,
I would say.
both in summer and in winter.
I bet. I haven't checked it out in winter, but during summer, I mean, those greens, those blacks, I mean, those textures, there's nothing like it.
No,
And
it's a very unique place.
just to add, because we are speaking in English, more people might actually listen to this and understand it. When you travel into Thorsmörk, be careful with the river. I just want to add that up.
That's a good thing to add.
Yeah, because
Yes.
the 4x4 sign there is not a 4x4 Dacia Duster sign. It's more of
I think they replaced it. I think a year ago or something they
okay.
replaced it and put up a big sign that says only big 4x4s can go there.
Yeah, this is
And
something that we actually really have to do here in Iceland.
yeah, yeah,
Because of course, if you see a 4x4 sign and you're driving a small 4x4, put the one, put those together, you think that you can go there.
I think the problem is that sometimes it is possible. Sometimes you can go there in these
Yeah,
cars.
during some days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also added on top of that is that all the rivers going up to Steinoldsá, which
Mm-hmm.
is the last river before you get to, or the second last river,
Mm-hmm.
that's a really nasty one. But
Yep.
all the rivers before that, they're quite easy, and I think a lot of people get overconfident,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they get get to Steinonsá, they think, oh, the road goes through this river, so it must be doable. And that's where most people get stuck.
Yeah.
And then after that comes Krossá, which is,
Yeah.
of course, another beast.
Oh.
And yeah, the things I've seen there and heard also from the people who are working at the huts, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And people that just drown the car in the river and then come out and say, yeah, but I managed to do all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there a road through here
Yeah.
if I can't drive it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, this is so different for people like, let's say, like you come from Belgium, where there's like not a square meter, like you said, that isn't built, and then you come to Iceland for the first time, maybe you rent a 4x4, drive to Thorsberg, and this isn't like something that you experience many times, maybe driving
Well,
over like a
I
big river.
have a funny story about that. The first time that
Right.
I did the Laugavegur,
Yeah.
we came to Thorsmörk and we stayed in Húsadalur, and then I was like, okay, so now we go back to Reykjavik and we will take the bus. And you know, coming from Belgium, you take the bus and you realize, okay, there is a bus here, so yeah, this is gonna be okay. So at 7 in the morning, I think the bus was gonna leave, and before we went, I ordered the coffee.
No.
Really bad idea, because then you get to Krossá, and I had no idea there was a thing called Krossá.
Ah.
And then the bus drives in, and the coffee went all over, and I burned my hands. And
Ow.
yeah, this was a really awful morning, and that just shows like I had no clue. The things I thought before I ever set foot in Iceland were just weird, but made sense because I came from Belgium. Like you take a map and you see Landmannalaugar on
Yeah.
a map. There's a dot and it says Landmannalaugar.
Yeah.
So my reasoning was, sure, there must be like a small village or something there, and you know, a shop or something. I don't know. And then you get there and there's absolutely nothing, which was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what we wanted. But I had to laugh at myself. Like, why did I assume there was a village there?
Yeah. This is exactly the thing that I heard stories about people traveling even to Hortstrandir, where there's literally not you have no phone service, you have no internet service, you have nothing, and you only have these park rangers. I think that's the right word for them.
Yeah,
They I met one 2 years ago, and they told me a story about how people were arriving there in their jeans, asking where the shop is.
yeah,
They're gonna buy everything. So what I always want to do is caution people to research where you're going.
yeah,
Talk
definitely.
to the locals. I mean, I think locals are always ready to help.
I think also it's like living here in Iceland. I also noticed this with myself that sometimes I'm like, oh, these damn tourists, and they come here in their jeans and their sneakers, and then I always have to try and think back of how I was the first time I came here.
Yeah.
I didn't show up in sneakers and in jeans, but I understand there might be people who have no clue
Mm-hmm.
how things work
Yeah.
and how things are in Iceland. And I think there are many places, like for example Reynisfjara,
Yeah.
uh, dangerous beach, and it's very nice to go there and very pretty. And there are many people who don't grow up next to the ocean, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely not the Atlantic Ocean,
Yeah.
and have no idea what the dangers are of these places. And this is also really big discussion, of course, like how far do we need to go to educate people?
Yeah. I think we try our best at least.
Yeah, yeah. In most places,
Most. Yeah.
but there are also, I think this is, to me at least, I'm very strongly opinionated on this. But I think the government kind of fails tourists and tourism by not having a national way of orchestrating signage
Mm.
and showing people what are the dangers in certain places. And I think, for example, in Geldingadalir at the
Mm-hmm.
eruption,
Yeah.
this is the worst place when it comes to safety. There are no signs.
Mm-hmm.
There is a teeny tiny sign. I think Almannavarnir put it up, and there's some explanation of how you need to be careful about the gas, but there is
Yeah.
no one that tells you don't walk on top of it. Because people, this is really funny, but you'd think like people would know not to walk on top of lava,
You
but
would think,
when
yeah.
they see the hard surface, they think, oh, this is fine. It's hard. It's solidified. And they don't understand that this can be only a few centimeters thick and they can stick their foot through it. And it's one thing, like, I think the problem is that Icelanders, they grow up and they know about these things
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
explained about these things
Mm-hmm.
and they automatically assume that other people know about these things.
Yeah.
But dealing with tourists and guiding people here in Iceland, if there's one thing that has taught me is that uh, people just don't know these things.
Mhm.
Like I have met many people who think that every volcano is the stereotypical pyramid-shaped
Ah, yeah,
mountain that
yeah.
shoots fire.
I see. Yeah.
For example, they have no idea about different types of volcanoes. They will definitely not know what's dangerous
No.
and that you need to be careful with gas and that you need to be careful about this. And I think this is one of the prime examples to me of bad information and people being stubborn about, yeah, people should know about this, but they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
You need to deal with, you need
Look
to
look
deal
at
with,
it. We need to look at it from an other side, from the other side,
yeah,
because we most I think most people don't grow up with this.
no. And I mean, I also totally understand that we don't want to put signs everywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's over the top, but there are places that really need more information. And there is this weird discussion about, oh, this eruption happened on private land. So is it my responsibility?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it the government's responsibility? Who should pay for it?
Ah, yeah. That
It's
that was
it's all strange. It's very strange.
yeah. I remember that one. Well, that's great that uh, you're working. You're also working as a tour guide, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing. I'm not only doing my photography, but I'm also guiding people on
No.
uh, normal trips then
Normal. Yeah.
with
Okay.
normal
No.
people, normal tourists. But then aside from that, I'm also doing photo workshops.
Oh, brilliant. So, and where can people actually we forgot to mention where people can buy this book. Where can people actually buy this book and find you to book a tour?
Yeah, so the book can be found in bookstores here in Iceland at Penny Namingson, and
Nice.
also on my website can be ordered, and I ship internationally.
Okay. And I will put the website in the description for sure.
Yeah.
But what is the main website?
My website is jvn
Yeah.
dot photo photo.
Nice. Brilliant. And
And you can also book, or you can see on my website what tours that I'm guiding on,
yeah,
and then you can just click around and go to the company that actually sells it.
okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I hope many people will. I know that many people will come and book your trips. And I am going to explore this book back and forth. I really enjoy it. Well, really great to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you for coming on, and I'm looking forward to see more from you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.